Greetings and also salutations. Today I am going to give kind of a studio diary of sorts to show and tell and share what is in progress in the studio. So today is Sunday, April 13th. Full moon is in Libra, the pink moon. And, well, let's just get started. So this is the first painting we want to show today. It is started out to be just a landscape. That was the intentions. With this painting, I'm kind of practicing and moving into more of a letting the painting unfold as it goes. I didn't really have a final image that I'm trying to work towards in this one. It's just building as I create it. Like most of my paintings that I've been doing, in the past decade and more, most of them I've had a reference image, or they're from like old photos or whatever. So I would kind of say, like those of these paintings here are like this one. These paintings are from photographs. So I'm kind of just translating the image through the different medium of ink and water onto the canvas. So it's like I have that finished image in my mind that I'm working towards that goal. But now I'm moving to practice being more just let it happen and just seeing where it goes. Something kind of getting in tune with what David Lynch says, being in love with the mystery. And so that's kind of what I'm going towards, or the concept of like being focused in the moment on what you're doing, not focusing on the goal, and not expecting the fruits of your labor. To do whatever you do as an offering. So that kind of idea, kind of, moving into that mode a little bit more. So anyway, with this painting, like I said, I started it out to be just a desert landscape. And I started with the two agave plants in the front here, which have turned out to be kind of like guardians. I see them kind of like, the two lion statues that may be at the foot of an entrance somewhere. That's kind of how they turn out to be. So while I'm working on this landscape, I also had this other idea of having some sort of mystical portal just randomly out in the wilderness, similar to like, not the same, but yeah, similar to like the obelisk that is in 2001, that kind of thing, just like an out of place object, but in this case it is a portal of sorts. Which brings me to this painting has a working title, which is "The Time to Hesitate is Through," which is a line that comes from a song by The Doors. And The Doors get their name from Aldous Huxley's phrase, "The Doors of Perception," or the title of the book, whatever. The Doors of Perception. We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. So playing with that kind of idea and, stepping through the door. Now also the title, "The Time to Hesitate is Through," is because, like I said, how the full moon is in Libra, and I was born under the sign of Libra. More recently, I've been getting more in tune with that kind of energy and seeing how what is said about Libra energy actually plays out in the patterns and my experiences in my life. And one thing, Libra is about balance, it's the scales. And I would very often say that I find myself kind of on the fence about things. I'm very indecisive, which I believe is a trait of Libra. And that indecisiveness brings me to procrastination. Anytime I am asked to list my own pros and cons after self-reflection, the first pro that comes to mind is procrastination. So this is kind of a note to myself, to not overthink things, to make decisions. It's okay to make wrong decisions. That's how we move through and move on and learn and become more wise. So I do like this section here, kind of how it's built out. I want to basically continue the rest of it out. I'm leaving blank spaces here, so room to play basically. Thinking about putting more critters in there, maybe a praying mantis or jackrabbit or other things. I'll fill out the sky. But anyway, that's just kind of how it's been going so far. So that's that one. Moving right along, painting number 2, which is actually the most recent painting I've started. You will see that it's not very far along yet. I've kind of been developing this world of, it's a Wild West cowboy inspired world, sometime between, in the 1850s through 1900 it takes place, I would say. But I've kind of developed this cowboy character and have been building other characters and scenarios and themes, and it's just basically a world that I get into and, to make paintings from, to make stories from, and I think it might turn into a comic book or graphic novel eventually, possibly, but we'll see how it goes. I've got this other painting here. This, the cowboy, this is kind of the initial character, the main character that I painted just to, have something tangible in that world. So then this painting is a cowboy standoff, as you can see. However, he's holding a book, which is not marked in the painting, but it is based on my Bible, just so you know. Don't tell anyone. Not necessarily a Bible in the picture. I want to leave it ambiguous, at least for now anyway. Basically, it's just representing wisdom or knowledge. Of course, you can see this man has the gun, so it's the kind of the duality between peace and violence. You probably can't see, but I've got the rest of it sketched out here where the sunset's going down, and then you have like the traditional Wild West town there with the saloon or whatever off to the side. But yeah, this one has more of a concept. I mean, I'm going to try to be more loose with this. Like when I'm painting, I'm trying to recreate things exactly how they seem or how I think they should look. But with the ink and water, they're kind of playful. I can control them only so much before I let them do whatever it is they're going to do. So along the lines with, like I said before, about letting things build as they go. Also, it's about loosening up control. So there's a duality of control and letting go. Try and do balance between. There's that balance. But yeah, so that's what that one is. It's pretty cool. I like how it's going. And it seems naturally, I just like to point out how I know, like you can't really see the lines, but like you've got the book here. He's in the foreground in the book. You've got him, the way he's positioned. The gun is pointing at the book. The shadows are coming up here towards the book. Then, of course, the perspective lines here of the city are all like, ugh. So maybe I don't know if it's too heavy-handed or not, but we'll see. I like it as it goes. So there's that one. Hey. Okay. This is the last painting. Let's move a little closer since it's not as big. We can see it a little better. Now this one I actually started in February of last year. So there's that procrastination I was talking about. Well, let's see it. This one's almost done. 99%. I came up with the concept here. This is John Wick, obviously, if you don't know, aren't familiar. Keanu Reeves playing the character of John Wick. Again, it's that duality of peace and violence. In discussing the procrastination, I had everything sketched out on the canvas, as I do, and then I start painting the main details first, the most important part. So if there's a face, I start with the face. If I start with the face, I start with the eyes. So we work our way down, and then I got that finished, the floor, the figure in the floor, and then I got to start working on, the next step would be the little details of the gun. So I start working on those, and I work my way around, which is more tedious, but that's fun. And then I get to this gun here. Then the rest of the guns, they're mirror image, but not literally. See, I have the light source coming in from this side. So, they're not like complete mirror. The light will be coming here. They'll all be shadowed on this side, so it's not a complete mirror. But I knew that it had to be, they're the same guns on each side, so they kind of had to be the same. So then I get that. It's like, what if they don't turn out as good? I already had these and they look good. So there was a long gap between where I finished these guns and then worked on those guns because of that kind of overthinking and ridiculous, what if it's not as good mentality that stops me in my tracks for whatever reason. But the time to hesitate is through, and I went through and finally did the guns, and then there was another break where I had to fill in the background of the wall. And kind of the way that I approach things, like when I'm doing a painting section, I have a section to paint. The wall, in my mind, the wall is one thing. So I kind of want it to be, done at one time. Just like, bam, there's the wall. But with the size of it and the ink and the brush, I have to work on little sections. And with ink, so I started in this section here with the darkness, because I knew that the light was coming here, so I started with the darkest section, what I want over here. And it's like I want it to all be consistent flow. Where if you can see in here, like if you do layers, then you can always see the layers. And so I came back and after I did the first wash and it dried, then I did another wash of the shadow to get more dark in here. And you can see that. Now, in a way, I kind of don't want that for whatever reason. Initially, I don't, I want it to be all one blending thing and not layered like that. But in reality, that's like the most interesting part of the wall, is that layered part where the water and the ink kind of does its own thing. And it's not something I planned. It just happened. And that's what I'm talking about in the letting go of the control. It might, the detail might look good, but then also the non-detail, letting it flow, that adds the more excitement, more interest to it, I think. So I just, even though I wanted the wall to be one thing, I worked in sections because that's how it has to be done. I start over here and kind of work my way down and pushing ink and blending ink in the wall there, and then coming back around. Now, if you leave it wet, like if you're using a lot of water and ink, it won't dry as quickly. It still dries quickly, but that way, that's kind of a tip that you can do if you want to do, to leave it wet, obviously, is the way to work it. But, it doesn't always work out, and then you get some fun textures out of it anyway. So that's where we are, I believe. Let's see. And, yeah. So the final step will be to what I generally do if there's a person in the painting, a portrait, then the very final step I like to do is put the highlights in the eyes as like the final, before the signature, but it's like the final step of the painting. And it kind of puts the soul into the figure, you know, and enlivens the painting. So I think I'll do that now. There you have it. So this concludes our broadcast day. Thank you for joining me and letting me share what's been going on in here. And in reference to the balance of dualities that we were discussing earlier, I will leave you with this. Remember to keep your chin up and your head bowed. Thank you. I'll see you later.